Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. So today we are going to cover slokas 13.13 to 13.19. So before we begin, I'll say the prayers to Guru and God, and then I'll play the Guru mantra. Om Ajnanaतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुं मिलितमेन तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna.
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः.
Okay, Hare Krishna. All ready? I'll play the slokas.
ज्ञेयं यत्तत् प्रवक्ष्यामि यज्ञात्वामृतमश्नुते अनादिमत्परं ब्रह्म न सत्तन्नासदुच्यते सर्वतः पाणिपादं तत्सर्वतोक्षिशिरोमुखम् सर्वतः श्रुतिमल्लोके सर्वमावृत्य तिष्ठति सर्वेन्द्रियगुणाभासं सर्वेन्द्रियविवर्जितम् असक्तं सर्वभृच्चैव निर्गुणं गुणभोक्तृ च बहिरन्तश्च भूतानामचरं चरमेव च सूक्ष्मत्वातरविज्ञेयं दूरस्थं चान्तिके च तत् अविभक्तं च भूतेषु विभक्तमिव च स्थितम् भूतभर्तृ च तज्ज्ञेयं ग्रसिष्णुप्रभविष्णु च ज्योतिषामपि तज्ज्योतिस्तमसः परमुच्यते ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं ज्ञानगम्यं हृदि सर्वस्य विष्ठितम् इति क्षेत्रं तथा ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं चोक्तं समासतः मद्भक्त एतद्विज्ञाय मद्भावायोपपद्यते.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Who is reading today?
Hare Krishna. 13.13 That which is to be known, I shall now declare by knowing which one attains immortality. It is beginningless, the Supreme Brahman, said to be neither existent nor non-existent. 13.14 With hands and feet everywhere, with eyes, head and mouth everywhere, with ears everywhere, in this way, Brahman pervades everything in the universe. 13.15 Though perceiving all sense objects, Brahman is devoid of the senses. Brahman is unattached, yet the sustainer of all. Brahman transcends the gunas, modes of nature, and at the same time enjoys the qualities of nature which are based on the gunas. 13.16 Existing outside and inside of all beings, both moving and unmoving. Because Brahman is extremely subtle and thus beyond the comprehension of the material senses. Brahman is both far away and yet near to all. 13.17 Brahman is indivisible yet appears to be divided amongst living beings. Know the Supreme Brahman to be the sustainer, annihilator, and creator of all beings. 13.18 Brahman is the source of light in all luminaries and is entirely beyond any and all darkness. Brahman is knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the goal of knowledge. Brahman dwells within the hearts of all living beings. 13.19 Thus, the field of activities, the body, knowledge, and the object of knowledge have been briefly described by me. Only my devotees can thoroughly understand this and thus attain to my nature. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you so much. So welcome everyone. Nice to see you all. Looks like you all had a wonderful Diwali. And so welcome back. So we continue this profound discussion. In the previous verses, we explored the profound concepts of jnana and nyayam, where jnana was knowledge, nyayam was the object of knowledge, and neta, which was the knower of the knowledge. And Sri Krishna is guiding us through the understanding of the difference between Sat and Asat. Sat is real or true or existing, and Asat is the opposite. Asat is unreal, untrue, non-existing. And God is the ultimate Sat. He is ever conscious. So that is why he is also called as Sat Chit Ananda. It starts with Sat. So he is Sat Chit Ananda. But the point to note here is, as Krishna is explaining, God is beyond Sat and Asat also. No, we will see that now. Because he is beyond all dualities. And that makes him the supreme name. That is the ultimate object of our understanding and devotion. If you look around us now, like we will see that the world, our world is filled with names and forms. And why? That's because that is how we make sense of the world around us. For us, everything has to have some form. Everything has to have some name. You know, even a road, even a building. For everything, we need a name. That is how we make sense of the existence around us. But then God is beyond those limitations. I mean, we can refer to God by a name that we like. That is different. But we cannot insist that that has to be the only name of God, because God is beyond those limitations. We cannot bind God by some name and some form. And that is basically because he is beyond words and thoughts and qualities. So I'll ask you a question. Think about it. You know, if I show you this mouse and I say, what is the color? I think you will immediately say maybe it is red or orange or whatever you think it is based on your perception. Some people may say it is black also. I'm fine with that. You know, but let us say there is a object which is extremely transparent, 100% transparent. I'm holding it in front of you. I'm now asking you what is its color. So what would you say? Anybody wants to try? No, you have to say now, because I'm asking now what is the color. It is 100% transparent, but
it's colorless. It's
there you
colorless,
go.
but it's pure.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That was a very powerful answer. Do you know why it is powerful? So that is the problem that we are now trying to understand, is because when we cannot make sense, when we cannot say what color it is, we said it is colorless. Correct? That is exactly the same thing we are doing to that Nirguna Brahman, because we cannot explain. So we are saying he is formless. We say he is nameless. We say he is attributeless. Why? Because we cannot explain. You know, because we cannot explain, we say it is with, and that is the whole idea of saying that Brahman is Nirguna, Nirakar. Just like we cannot even explain what is the color of a transparent object, how can we explain that ultimate reality? And based on human nature, human perception, that is what makes us now label that God as formless or shapeless. But even that is not a complete representation, but that is the best we can do. See, that is the whole idea. And that is why we say that God can only be experienced. God cannot be described. Or in other words, God cannot be theorized. God can only be realized. All these theories are taking us to that point of acceptance that God cannot be theorized. And so Krishna, he is telling Arjuna that the ultimate goal of knowledge is to understand this Brahman and understand that Brahman is beginningless, limitless. And that is the knowledge which is going to lead to liberation. Now tell me, is the knowledge itself going to liberate us? No. But this knowledge is going to help us seek that grace of the divine. This knowledge is going to help us understand that we are limited and we are supposed to seek the grace of that which is unlimited. And that is what is going to get us liberation. And Krishna is also assuring, Krishna is saying that he will guide Arjuna and all of us towards this highest understanding. Now, do you recall how many virtues Krishna spoke about in the previous set of verses? Okay, I have one person knows how many virtues. Okay, Rajesh ji, how many virtues?
20.
Thank you. Indeed. So Krishna detailed 20 virtues. And he said that they form the true essence of knowledge. In other words, because our goal is to experience God, our goal is not to just theorize God, our goal is to realize God. Krishna said, to realize, you need those 20 virtues. So that is how everything ties to all the dots start connecting. Now, if you can recall, back in the 11th chapter, when Arjuna was looking upon the vastness of Krishna's Vishwarupa Darshanam, he was so awestruck, and there he was seeing countless forms and mouths and eyes, and and he was struggling to describe that, what he was seeing. And Krishna is confirming that reality here to Arjuna again. And Krishna is saying that indeed, I exist with countless heads and feet and faces and heads, and so this was in chapter 11 where Arjuna was trying to describe 11.10. Ashaji is here.
Hare Krishna.
Ashaji, you want to try 11.10?
Yes, Guruji. अनेक वक्त्र नयनम अनेकाद्भुत दर्शनम अनेक दिव्याभरणम दिव्यानेकोद्यतायुधम.
Thank you. So it means with many mouths and eyes, many marvelous sights, with many divine ornaments, many divine uplifted weapons. This is how he's trying to describe. And that is where Krishna was offering a glimpse. Glimpse into what? Glimpse into the paradoxical nature of God. What is that paradoxical nature? The paradoxical nature is that on one hand, God possesses infinite senses. Like we just saw this shloka right now that Ashaji also read. Infinite senses. But at the same time, he claims to be devoid of any senses. See, the paradox is that. That is part of the aspect of divine mystery, where God is all-knowing, all-perceiving, and also beyond the sensory experiences of ordinary beings. That is why we say that he's not confined. He's not confined to any one form or any one perception. In other words, if Arjuna is saying that, oh Krishna, you have infinite heads, which head are you going to describe? One head will have a beard, maybe one head is clean shaven, and which head are you going to describe now? So which is Krishna? You see the difficulty. Similarly, God is both the creator and the sustainer of the universe. At the same time, he remains unattached and unimpacted by it. So this is what Krishna had described in the 9th chapter, the 9th shloka, where he used the word udasinavat. That is what he used to describe the divine detachment. Ashaji, you want to read that? 9.9?
Yes, Guruji. न च मां तानि कर्माणि निबध्नन्ते धनञ्जय उदासीनवदासीनम् असक्तं तेषु कर्मसु.
These actions do not bind me, O conqueror of wealth, as I am like an observer who is indifferent and unattached to those actions. Krishna is not indifferent to his devotees, but is indifferent to his creations, is indifferent to those actions. Now he's explaining that although I am responsible for creating and maintaining the universe, I am not affected by it. He's not affected by what? He's not affected by any wants or desires that exist within that creation. And this state is what is called as Udasinavat, which basically means that he's detached and indifferent to the influences of his creation. In other words, Maya is his own power, but it doesn't impact him at all. That is the whole idea here. So he always remains pure, he always remains untouched by all those imperfections. We took the example of the sky in the past. The sky contains the entire earth. The sky surrounds the entire earth, but you cannot ever pollute the sky. You can pollute the air, you cannot pollute the sky. The sky will always be pure, it will always be unimpacted. That is just an idea of how Krishna is. And earlier, Krishna also spoke about the concept of Sthita Pragya. And in 2.55, he was describing who a Sthita Pragya is. Ashaji, 255?
Yes. Shri Bhagavan Prajahate yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan atmannevatmana tushta sthita pragyasta dochyate.
Beautiful, thank you. So Krishna says, when one gives up all desires of the mind, O Partha, and finds satisfaction in the self alone, such a person is called of steady wisdom or Sthita Pragya. And then he follows up with another concept that is in chapter 6, 18th verse, 6.18.
Yada viniyatam chittam atmannevavatishthate nispruha sarva kamebhyo yukta ityuchyate tada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. So there Krishna says, when the controlled mind rests within the self alone, free from all desire, then one is said to be in union. You see, these all are flowing one into other. So I'm trying to, connect all of them so that you see the beauty of Krishna's teachings, how Krishna, all his teachings, they connect, each one connects to the rest. So in the second chapter, he spoke about who is the Sthita Pragya, somebody who has got a steady mind. And then later on in the sixth chapter, he said, such a person, when he has a steady mind, a calm mind, then that person is able to be in union. And this kind of state, this union that he's talking about, this is the kind of person that is called as Atmaram. Atmaram means completely satisfied with that realization of the self. So they are so full of bliss because they have realized that Atma, they have realized the self. So now they don't have any other desire. They are not running behind anything else at all. It is like they have reached that ultimate state of contentment, and that is an Atmaram. And we say even Krishna is like that. Krishna is an Atmaram. So they don't have any need for anything external. So Krishna, he is saying that he embodies this state. Krishna is saying, I explained to you Atmaram, I explained to you Sthita Pragya. He says, I am like that. I am a Sthita Pragya and I am also an Atmaram. So when he says that, what he's actually saying is, again, he's just saying that I'm not desiring for any material things. I'm not running behind any material things. I'm not impacted by any material things. So that is divine completeness, where although the God is present in every aspect of the universe, God is still unaffected by all the changes and desires that is happening in the universe. That is the message for us. Eventually, we need to reach that stage. So Krishna is not saying run away. Krishna is saying you can be in the world. You can be surrounded by the world and yet remain unaffected by the world. And how? That is what he has been teaching so far. Samatvam, Sthita Pragya, Atmaram, all of that, so many things, so many ways he has described. And we can be. And that is the message for us. So the mysterious nature, that is very hard to understand. So we are all trying. We are trying to understand it from different perspectives. And Krishna himself is trying. Krishna knows it, but he is trying to explain it to Arjuna. He is trying to explain it to us, people who have limited perception. He is trying to explain the unlimited to people with limited. So it's a tough job, but I think he has done a really wonderful job here. And if you see the nature of God, the way Krishna is explaining, it defies all limitations, all boundaries. If you see, you will see in these verses Krishna has explained. He has said that he is both near and far. He is present everywhere and yet beyond reach. He appears both divided as well as united. He is with attributes, that is saguna, and without attributes, nirguna. And all of this at the same time. How can we comprehend this? In other words, it may seem like a contradiction, but that is just the limited nature of our ability to comprehend. But there is no contradiction as such in what Krishna is saying. It just means it is beyond our comprehension. So in the Isha Upanishad, this is said very beautifully. It says, Tade jati tannai jati tad dure tadvantike tadantarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasyasya bahyatah. It moves and it does not move. It is far and it is near. It is within all this and it is outside of all this. See? So even the Upanishads, they are trying to explain, describe that, Brahman. See, this may all seem like, very, very abstract or something, but the beauty is the modern science is eventually catching up, and the modern science is beginning to see aspects of this now. For example, you might have heard about the term quantum mechanics. I mean, the word quantum is pretty hype these days. For everything, they will, they will say quantum. But there, they have actually started observing some of the things. For example, they have seen that protons and electrons, they have actually documented it by experiments that it looks like protons and electrons can appear in two places at once. I mean, this is something that we could not have comprehended. This is what, we have said that God is everywhere. In other words, God can be here also, there also at the same time, but that was a spiritual aspect. But now even in science, in quantum physics, they are documenting it. They are saying that these protons and electrons looks like they can be in two places at the same time. In fact, they have a fancy word for this. They call this quantum superposition, where it means particles can exist in multiple states or locations simultaneously. You have all seen, I think most of us had science in our school. So do you all remember the picture of an atom that we saw in textbooks? You all remember? You remember? Okay. I will not ask the older generation, but the younger ones probably have better memory of. So Ekansh, how does it look? The atom, can you describe?
Yes, Guruji, Hare Krishna. So it looks like a circular form from outside, and then it goes deeper inside with the more channels and small. It's like I can draw a picture.
No, you don't have to draw. You just have to explain as best as you can.
So it's like it's a complete channel. When you open the atom, you will find electrons and protons. You just go deeper and deeper, and they all look very similar. There's always a layer.
Got it. Thank you so much. So in short, the way an atom is described to all of us is multiple circles. Big circles, then small circles, then other circles. So they're all, like Ekansh is calling them channels. You can call them whatever you want, but basically the idea is there are multiple channels and these electrons are on those circles. There are many electrons. So what I'm trying to say is picturize this in front of you. You picturize that you have a circle and then you have another circle within, and picturize that there is an electron which is on one circle and suddenly it appears on the next circle. This is what the quantum physics is documenting. So they are saying that this electron was here, but now we see that electron has gone to the next circle. This much makes sense. But the mystery? The mystery is the electron did not actually travel. In other words, they could not detect the electron actually traveling from here to there. They could only detect the electron being here at one point and then it was there at the other instance. But there is no evidence of them having. How is that possible? You see, how is it possible that anything can go from here to there without actually traveling. So this is documented in science. So it is still something we are not able to comprehend, and this. So how will you describe this? Like if I ask you to describe, if I tell you describe this phenomenon where an electron has been in two places without traveling between them, what words will you use? You see the difficulty. Even to describe something that science is documenting is so hard. That is what I'm trying to reach at. When we say this is what Krishna said, that I can be everywhere simultaneously. If an electron can be in multiple locations simultaneously, why can't Shri Krishna be? See, that is the thing. So, and this whole concept of Nirguna Brahman, when we say the divine without attributes, you can see that concept now catching up in the scientific understanding of the universe as well. Because the another very famous popular hype word is Big Bang. A lot of us have heard about that. So scientists are saying that is how the universe was formed. It was a Big Bang. But do you know what happened right before the Big Bang? I mean, this is also the same scientists who are explaining. So they say that just before a Big Bang, there was singularity. That's the word they use. And if you ask them what is singularity, how would you define singularity, they will say that singularity means that was an instance where there was zero volume but infinite density. Can you comprehend either of this? Can you comprehend an object with zero volume? Can you comprehend an object with infinite density? What does it even mean, infinite density? You see? But then the science is accepting that. And they are saying that is the origin of the material universe that we see today. So in other words, we cannot even comprehend what even modern science is saying. Like modern science is talking about no volume but infinite. We cannot comprehend no volume. We cannot comprehend infinite density. And they are saying they both existed together. Like the singularity was zero volume as well as infinite density. So if that is okay, then we are getting closer to the understanding of what this Nirguna Brahman is all about. What our ancestors have spoken about thousands and thousands of years ago. So that is pretty much quantum. And in Katha Upanishad, they are trying to describe this in some other words. So they say, Ashabdam, Asparsham, Arupam, Avyayam, Tata Arasam, Nityam, Agandavat Chayat, Anadi Anantam Mahatah, Param Dhruvam Nichaya, Tat Mrityu Mukat Pramuchyate. That which is soundless, touchless. Soundless is Ashabdam, touchless is Asparsham, formless Arupam, undecaying Avyayam, like that, so on and so forth, tasteless, odorless, eternal. We had so much difficulty even describing that which had no color. Now here we are talking about that which has no volume, that which has, no form, no taste, no odor, eternal, no beginning, no end. It is beyond the great, ever unchanging. And then that Upanishad goes on, and then finally it says, if you can realize this, if you can realize what we are saying here, then you have found liberation. Then you are liberated and you are free from the jaws of death. You see the beauty? So this whole Nirguna Brahman, there is another scientific term. I thought I can describe that to get your interest. There is another term called as quantum vacuum. See, again, most of us when we were in school, it was the Newtonian physics that was mostly popular. Where does anybody remember the definition of a vacuum? What is a vacuum? Any science students here? It's very interesting. Suchita is a science student, right? Yes, okay. Ekansh wants to say again. Okay, Ekansh?
I'm not pretty sure. I just remember I studied like 7 years ago now. The vacuum, you're talking about the vacuum, right?
Yes.
The vacuum is it's like if we take a pipe. If I suck all the air out of it, then the pipe just becomes a vacuum. When there's no air and nothing left in the pipe.
Exactly. That is what I'm looking for. That final thing you said. Vacuum, as per Newtonian physics, is described as something where there is nothing. So there is no air, there is no particles, there is nothing. And we have been taught, the older traditional physics was that is vacuum. But then now we have this new physics, right? Quantum physics. And there they have defined it as a quantum vacuum. So what is the quantum vacuum? You can read up all of that, very interesting topics. So quantum vacuum, what the physics shows us is, it is not actually empty. They say that the vacuum is not really empty. And it is actually an ocean of energy. And there are fluctuations in that energy. And continuously they are giving rise to something called as virtual particles that appear and disappear in a moment like this. And they don't have any form. Does it now sound somewhat similar to what we have been discussing? They are talking about something which is not bound by space, because they can be anywhere within that vacuum. Something that is not bound by form, because they say they do not have a specific form. And something that is beyond time, because they can appear and disappear whenever they want. You see where we are getting at, right? So in other words, we are saying that in that nothingness is the seed of everythingness. Because the quantum physics will go on later on to try and theorize that is the origin of all matter, whatever those particles we see. Those particles that seem to exist instantaneously, they will say that is in fact the building block of matter. But isn't that what, Krishna has said? Isn't that what we have said in different words, where we say that Nirguna Brahman is Nirguna, Nirakar. However, he is the source of all creation. You see the parallels. So it's very beautiful, very deep. And so the ancient sages, but another beauty, if you can see, these ancient sages and these quantum scientists, they are separated by thousands of years in time, but they are arriving at the same truth. See? And that is the beauty of Sanatana Dharma. That is what we have been trying to explain in the past, that what we are describing in this Sanatana Dharma is timeless, because that is absolute truth. 10,000 years in the future, there may be yet another form of physics. They will have different methods, but they will arrive at the same conclusion. See? So I'm talking about all of this just to, generate more conviction that what we are reading is not just some balloony. What we are reading is actually Sat. It is that absolute truth. So all this discovery is still, and you may call it whatever, quantum this, quantum that and that, but they are also still just scratching the surface, surface of that absolute reality. So that is why we say that, Krishna is telling Arjuna that Neyam, that is the ultimate reality or the highest object of knowledge, cannot be entirely known or explained through logic. Because as we have seen, even quantum physics is struggling. They are documenting things, but they are not yet able to explain. So that is what Krishna is saying here about Neyam. But what are we supposed to take away from this discussion is two things. One, that complex reality, that infinite, complex, vast reality on one end, and this very limited mental faculty that we have on this end. And then you will yourselves realize that how unrealistic it is to expect that this limited faculty can totally comprehend that unlimited Brahman. So that is why Krishna also says, by logic alone you cannot. It's not possible. It is like we have a thermometer, and our thermometer has a range of, let us say, 100 degrees Celsius. That is all it is capable of. It is designed only for that. But then can you try to measure the temperature of the sun using a thermometer? You can't, because that thermometer doesn't have that capacity. Just like that, our mental faculty is limited and we cannot go and use logic alone. But does that mean there is no hope? Does that mean that means no? That is where Krishna is leading us now. He's saying, so you need to follow the path of bhakti, because through bhakti you will get my grace, and through my grace you can actually realize it. You don't have to theorize it. I will help you realize it. That is the beautiful thing here. That is so Krishna is saying, I am beyond explanation. See, this is another thing where Krishna says, I am beyond explanation. That is one thing. And then he says, I am also the ultimate object of knowledge. Does it sound contradictory again? Where on one end, Krishna is saying, I am beyond all explanation. On the other hand, Krishna is saying, but I am the object of knowledge. But if he cannot be explained, then how can you be that object of knowledge? Correct? But then again, there is no contradiction. Because the truth is that God cannot be fully grasped through the limited lens of our intellect or our senses. And if we really want to understand, then the only way is to try and realize it. And how do we realize it? Through a connect with Krishna. And how do we get the connect with Krishna? Amānitvam, adambitvam, and bhakti. And that is how you try to get the grace of Krishna. And then when we open our hearts completely, then the God's grace will illuminate our lives and we will get that, like Sulataji reminded us yesterday, we will get that pratyaksha vagamam. That should be the goal. Actual realization of this absolute infinite truth. So the beauty of all of this is Krishna is saying, I am knowledge itself. I am the object of all you are seeking. I am the very essence of what you want to comprehend. And what it actually also means is that Krishna resides within the heart of every living being. When he says, I permeate the whole universe, that's what he means. He means, I am within the heart of every living being. And what does it mean? If Krishna says, I am in your heart, what does it mean? It means you don't need to go on a pilgrimage to go and find me. No, you don't have to go on an interplanetary travel to go and locate me. He says, I am right within you. I am in your heart. I am closer than your breath. That is how Krishna explains this beautifully. And, the Katha Upanishad also says this very beautifully. It says that the Atman is subtler than the subtlest and greater than the greatest. And it is seated in the heart of each being. One who has stilled the mind and senses. Now pay attention. One who has stilled the mind and senses, freed from desires, and beholds the majesty of the self, becomes free from sorrow by divine grace. As you see, there are three things called out here. One, stilling the mind and senses. What is the word for that? Okay, I have one. Okay, Chitraji, what is the word?
Samatvam.
Samatvam, excellent. The second thing is called in this same sloka is about detachment. In other words, not having desires, free from desires. What is the word for that? Okay, Deepaji.
Vairagya.
Excellent. Vairagyam. And the third thing called out here is withdrawing the senses and having control over the senses. What is the word for that?
Samatvam.
No, please raise your hands. Let me see who wants to.
Chitta Pragya.
That we already covered. Raise your hands so that I can see who wants to answer. Others, I don't know who is answering. Okay, Sulataji.
Pratyahara.
Excellent. 100 marks for this class. So Pratyahara, if you want to again revise, you can go to second chapter 2.58, where Krishna spoke about how a tortoise withdraws all the senses. That is the concept of Pratyahara. Also, if you remember in the Ashtanga Yoga, Patanjali spoke about, right after pranayama comes Pratyahara. So Yama, Niyama, you remember that whole 8 things? Dhyana, Dharana, and he speaks about pranayama, and right after pranayama, he says Pratyahara. The same thing Krishna said in 258, and that is what the Upanishads are also saying. So, Practice vairagyam, practice samatvam, practice pratyahara, and you are well on your way to reaching the divine realization. That is the message here. Very easy, right? Okay. Now, the concept of the super soul, which is Paramatma, and the individual soul, that is Jivatma, the concept is they both reside in the same, every living being. And this is what some acharyas have described using the example of two birds sitting on a tree. That is the whole idea. The idea is only when we have the vairagyam to detach from the material desires, then we can realize the super soul, because they are both in the same tree. But one bird is so busy eating the fruits, admiring the fruits and running behind other fruits, that it is not having any inclination to even look at the other bird, which can give it the ultimate fruit and ultimate liberation. Yeah? As we are progressing on this path, we will realize, each one of us, I guarantee you that if you sincerely follow the path, if you try to inculcate the virtues of amānitvam, adambitvam, and opening your heart, and vairagyam and samatvam, if you actually follow it, I can guarantee, it's not my guarantee, Krishna has guaranteed, I'm conveying that as my guarantee, that you will realize very soon that Krishna is not some distant God, that Krishna is a reality within you, that Krishna is within you, Krishna is around you, and Krishna is surrounding you. And Krishna is waiting. He is waiting to be discovered, and he is waiting for us to embrace him with an open heart. But he's always there. That is the message. And my guarantee, based on Krishna's guarantee, is you will realize that at some point. It may not always be like a big bang realization that suddenly now you are in samadhi. That's not required. It can come in small increments too. You will have many aha moments where this will become apparent to you. And all these aha moments together will ultimately set you up for that ultimate realization as well. So keep up the conviction is my whole request. And then Krishna again, in this slokas, is talking about the divine mysteries and how we can unveil them, how we can understand them through devotion. Bhakti again is a theme here, where he says, iti kshetram tata jnanam, means knowledge of the field of activity. And Krishna is referring to kshetra, which is it's a revision again. We just studied it in the previous sessions. 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, space. And then the senses, mind, ego, intellect. And we saw all of this in the sloka 6 and 7. So that pretty much defines the material composition of the body and mind. And by understanding them, we begin to, the reason we should understand them is, that helps us understand then what is not that. Then in other words, if you get a good understanding of asat, then eventually you will be able to understand sat. That is the whole point of it. And the phrase tata jnanam, that is talking about those 20 essential virtues that Krishna spoke about in slokas 8 to 12, starting with amānitvam and adambitvam. And they're not just ethical guidelines, but they're actually steps. They are steps using which we can reach that path of transcendence, because they purify us. They purify the mind, the heart, and they align us with the divine. So this is how we will then be able to understand truly the kshetra and kshetragya, the differences, and eventually we should be able to perceive that divine. This is how we can do that. And Krishna is also saying, again, Krishna says that although this knowledge is valuable, although this knowledge is necessary, he says, but the true understanding can only come with divine grace. That's something that has been repeated many times. See, it's a very beautiful analogy. Like we look at a star, at the most we can say that, I see the light from a star. and you can make some theories out of it. You can say that that star is probably in this galaxy, and that star is probably so many million light years away, and that star is probably this hot and this cold. How are you feeling with all this theory? But what is it that will really make us feel accomplished is if you can actually be on that star, na? Why do you, I mean, saying that star probably is made up of carbon or silica or whatever, and it is there and it is bright and it is beautiful, okay. But then imagine you being in the star, na? That way you just realize all of this in an instant, correct? So that is the difference. Krishna is saying the difference between just theoretical knowledge of the Kshetra, Kshetragya, all of that, he says, it will be like you looking at the light coming from a star or light coming from some object and trying to describe it. Whereas what is really required is you experiencing that light, you experiencing that star yourself. He says, but even today, you and I cannot just, catch a bus and go to a star. No? I mean, it's not possible. That there needs to be some kind of divine intervention or some divine help if we have to really go to any of those stars. I mean, but then Krishna is more vast than that, because we just saw in another scripture we were reading earlier where, the Lord created the universe. So the Lord is actually bigger than the universe. And the universe itself is so vast and infinite for us. So there is no way we can realize without help from that Supreme Brahman. That is what Krishna is saying. Eventually, this knowledge will take you only so far. But eventually that knowledge, the biggest goal of that knowledge is to help you realize that I now need the grace of Krishna to actually have that pratyaksha vagamam, to actually make this jnana a vijnana, actually have the realization. And how do you get the grace is what we have been studying so far in all of the Bhakti Yoga chapters. 11.54 also says the same thing in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna clearly said that only through single-minded devotion can I in this form be truly known, seen and entered, O Arjuna. Only through single-minded devotion. Okay. Anybody remembers the word for that? Okay. I want to see if there is any new person talking, okay. Hi Apurva. What is the word for that? Any ideas? Constant, consistent devotion. Okay, anybody else? Come on, this was the most important concept that we touched upon throughout the Bhakti Yoga chapters. Okay, Kalpana ji, you want to say? Ananya Chintan. अभी तक सब दिवाली मोड में है. Too many sweets, too many sweetmeats, too many oily food. So that Ananya Chintan, Krishna is saying that is what is required if you want to truly know me and if you want to truly have union with me. Just like that, even in the Shvetasvatara Upanishad, it is said, Yasya deve para bhaktir yata deve tata guru tasyaite katita hyartaha prakashante mahatmanah. For those who have supreme devotion towards God and equal devotion towards the Guru, the deeper meanings of the Vedic scriptures, they are revealed by the grace of God. It is not said that they are understood by you. It is said that they are revealed to you by the grace of God. And that is the only way. So it is aligning. Krishna has been teaching this throughout, and he has told Arjuna that, Arjuna, understanding the nature of the field, the knowledge, the knower, is not just an intellectual pursuit, but it's a very transformative journey that requires divine intervention, that requires divine grace. And that is why I'm saying, focus on purification, because only when a heart is purified by devotion, then the veil of ignorance will lift, and only when the ignorance is lifted, only then the grace can enter. If we are too full of ignorance, where is room for grace? So after explaining the nature of Kshetra and all the virtues which are essential for understanding and the ultimate object of knowledge, which is Krishna himself. Krishna is asserting that his devotees alone can truly grasp this reality. And how? By surrendering. By surrendering to him and embodying the qualities of devotion, humility, reverence. This is, that is how you can truly get a understanding, realization of that ultimate reality. So after having explained all of this, after having spoken about Jnana, Neyam, Neta, and also he has spoken about Kshetra, Kshetragya already, then in the next verses, Krishna will go into the concepts of Prakriti and Purusha, which is another set of very, very deep concepts where he's going to explain the relationship between nature and consciousness and how they shape the experience of the soul and all of that. So it will be very profound again. So looking forward to continuing this journey with all of you. Hare Krishna. Really grateful for your continued support. I'll open the floors. If you had any comments, questions, please go ahead.
Sorry, Guruji, the Ananda Chintan word didn't click. I was thinking one-pointedness, but yeah.
No, that's okay. That's okay. That's
Sure.
okay.
I mean, I could think consistency. We do that, but that Ananda Chintan word didn't come to mind. But yes, the concept is there. So
That's okay. That's okay.
You explain so many scientific these things and concepts. You also had told us, Dr. Deepak Chopra, how to understand this transient, this destructible nature of the body. Yeah, how he explained how our cells, body cells, regenerates. We are not the same, like our organs, cells of each of our organs are, they are not they just get regenerated. It is not the old cells, new cells. So we can't say we are that. So as we grow, as our body grows, we are not the old one. So who are we, like exactly? Who is that the same right from the beginning? That's how we come to conclusion that we are souls, consciousness.
Exactly. Exactly. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much. So that is what we are, like for example, I gave you a very, very silly example of an object which is completely transparent, and the best way we could describe was it's colorless, correct? So, but how can you say it is colorless? Because you already have an understanding of what colors are. You see? So just like that, when you understand like what is your body, then you can then say eventually that is not my body. You see, even to say that is not something, you need to understand what is that not something. No, that is the reason why Krishna is also spending so much time explaining Kshetra, whereas he himself says Kshetra is Asat. But then you need to know what is Asat so that you can perceive Sat, because Sat is not Asat. You see. So I'm not my eyes, I'm not my hands, I'm not my feet. But then you should know what an eye is, you should know what your hand is, you should know what a feet is. Then you can say, I am not a feet, right? I mean, if you have no idea what a feet even means, you see where we are going with this. So that is one of the reasons why why Krishna has spent time to even explain those material concepts, the material aspects, so that we eventually understand that Sat, what is Sat? Sat is not this. So thank you, Sunata ji. Yeah, so it all connects very well to what we are studying.
So, Guruji, I would just want to share with everybody now that I'm here is this concept that he keeps saying is God is not there to theorize but realize. I did realize that. I mean, when I undertook this base camp the first time, I didn't go, and Guruji knows how upset I was, but it happened for a good reason. I mean, personally, I'm a very team person. Like I am like I like to work in teams. That's the kind of my basic nature. But here again, I got another chance, and of course, things worked very well. But here is where I went solo. I'm not a solo person, but then again, like though I went solo, I had my Krishna with me. I mean, Guruji knows I have this idol, and I carried this with me all along, and all throughout. met a lot of fellow trekkers and they were quite surprised. So I used to say, no, I'm not alone. I'm with my Krishna. And of course, since I'm married to Christians, I have the cross also. And these were the two things that kept me going. And I actually realized it. I mean, it's unbelievable. One can't explain how it is. And when you see those mountains, we are so insignificant and they've been there for years together. And that whole, and it's like experiencing heaven. It was so beautiful. Is I can't explain in words, but I mean, I can relate to everything when Guruji says, you cannot theorize, but realize. And I did experience.
Yeah,
Seriously,
thank you so much, Deepaji.
Yeah.
I mean, just for context to everybody else, Deepaji went to Everest Base Camp and she just did a successful trek of Himalayas.
And it was purely Ananya Chintan. No two ways about it. It is purely Ananya Chintan. I mean, the best part of it is like then you're completely detached. Your only objective in life is get up every morning, eat whatever basic is required, start walking. And when I used to walk, I used to have my own way of connecting with Krishna. I mean, of course, Guruji has taught us Om Namo Narayana, Krishna is my only desire. And literally 1, 2, 3, 4. Om Namo Narayana, Krishna is my only desire. And he had given me some, I had my low points where Guruji had given me, where you don't have Wi-Fi. So I had downloaded those. It really helped me, Guruji. You have no idea. It just gave. And people with me also walking, it is so divine because it is just quiet. And I used to put that one particular one. And there was some kind of a harmony. There's some kind of so much of beautiful energy. Very pure is, I just can't explain. And everybody loved those, whatever you had given me. One was the 45 minutes and the trek was so tough. We had no energy to walk, but yeah. So those small experiences and like the fellow trekkers, whoever wants to stop will stop, wants to walk. No communication, just eye contact. Everybody knew what is going. And then we had these yaks and cows walking. So that was kind of a message, okay, take a break, have water. And the respect, like let them pass by and then you pass by. So small, when I reflect and think about it also, it just brings so much of happiness. It's like, wow. But the most important was Ananya Chintan. I was completely detached, only with my this thing. And that's it. Give me the grace. Help me. That's it. You know it. You take me forward. The best compliment once I finished it and was sitting in a hotel and there were a lot of these Indian Americans there. Hey, she's that Krishna's girl. I was like, done. So that's the kind of it. And while I was solo, I had my porter come guide who I used to call him my lifeline. Though his name is Suresh, I said, I'm not going to call you Suresh, you're my Krishna. Krishna, thank you, Krishna. Whatever little bit he would give me, whatever he would do for me, 10 times that you are my Krishna and everything. Krishna, thank you, Krishna. Like, these are the real life experience. I want to share with everybody. I mean, and he was my Krishna. And when I came back, the best compliment, hey, she's that Krishna's girl. Those Indian Americans were so impressed, like solo travel. I said, no, she's that Krishna traveler. She's that Krishna's girl. I mean, what more can I ask for? I just wanted to share this with all of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And of course, Guruji's grace. Oh my God, I can't forget that. Absolutely.
It's really happy, Deepa, that you had all those experiences, and I can see how you are also struggling to explain in words. That is the beauty, they have to be experienced. So thank you so much, and the best wishes with all of you.
Absolutely. I mean, I consulted him. I am planning to go. So the first time he himself also had those vibes that no, it's not the right time. And then the second time he said, you have all my blessings. So I was like sorted. I was like, yes. Yeah. Thank you.
No, I was also just tapping into the intuition. So when first time you asked me, I asked Krishna only, and Krishna, somehow I felt like he's saying it's not the right time. So I told you the same, and it didn't happen. And the second time when you were going, it just felt like a different energy. So
And as you said, feel so content, just content. That's it. Satisfied. Yeah. Sorry, Guruji, you were saying something.
No. I'm just listening. I'm very happy, and so we need to eventually I mean, this is very good, but this is still beginning. So we need to
This is the take
keep
it to the
looking.
next
So
level.
now you are in a mode of love for Krishna, and eventually it should become a selfless love. So that journey has to. You cannot be complacent and because it's a game of snake and ladders, right? Like
Yes, I agree. Yes,
एगिए जाओ. Keep going ahead.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
Hare
so much.
Krishna.
Thank you everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.